This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Jason Brewer, the Executive Chairman at Neo Energy Metals, after the company announced they have acquired a new uranium project, the Baysia North and Baysia South uranium project, uranium and gold project, I should say, in South Africa. Well, thank you very much, as always, Jason. How are you?
I'm very good today, actually. Very good, given how the announcement's been received.
Well, yeah, precisely. I think the share price was up, 180% at one point. It's circa sort of 150, 160% up today on that. Whether that's because of the uranium or the gold, I don't know. Maybe it's both. You know, they're both quite hot commodities at the moment. But I mean, just taking a few lines from that RNS that came out this morning, you say the Baysia projects contain one of the largest and currently underdeveloped uranium resources in South Africa. It's got a SAMREC code compliant of 90 million pounds of uranium there. Just on the uranium at the moment, because I know Neo Energy Metals is more about the uranium. But I mean, can you put that into context a little bit there? People might be more familiar with JORC or NI 43101s, but SAMREC of 90 million pounds of uranium, what is that looking like? What does that mean?
It means we've got an awful lot. Look, the SAMREC code is what the South African-based mining companies report their resources, their reserves under. It's equivalent to your NI 43101. It's equivalent to your JORC. So we're acquiring this asset from a South African exploration company called Sunshine Mineral Reserves. They've completed this reserve report. It was actually done in 2023, so just late last year. There's been other resource reports done, which have been compliant with your NI 43101 status, National Instrument thereof Canada. So yes, it's a significant resource. Importantly, it's located, as we say in the announcement, in South Africa's primary uranium producing region. So these resources have been well drilled, well defined, and there's been a tremendous amount of work, not just by the junior exploration companies, but by a lot of the major mining companies here as well.
Okay. And in total now, I guess including the Henkeries project, that gives you say your 233 million pounds of uranium. Is that right, in total across the company?
No. That's what I was looking at there. Yeah, the 233 is when you convert the gold to uranium. So you're looking at an equivalent uranium resource. So if you took the gold and you put that as an equivalent based upon pricing, yeah. So you've got an equivalent. It's like when you've got a big silver gold project, you convert all your silver ounces to gold when you report it. Okay. So 33 is basically, it means we've got 90 million pounds of straight uranium, but the 4.17 million ounces of gold, from a revenue perspective, is equivalent to another 143 million pounds of uranium.
Okay, I see. And this is because it's a uranium project with gold, as you say, as a byproduct, as you say. So you report it as a uranium project.
Yeah, look, most of the investors that have got involved in Neo are focused on the uranium. In South Africa, traditionally, uranium has been a byproduct of some of the big gold mining operations up here in the Free State. So when you look at it, you know, we've got a pure 90 million pound uranium resource there. When you look at the gold resource of another 4.17 million ounces, which, by the way, is probably one of the biggest resources any junior company in London has at the moment. But that gold resource is equivalent to another, call it 140 million pounds of uranium, just based on the current pricing. So it's a significant resource, certainly by value when you look at the in-situ value, but it's a significantly well-defined, well-explored, well-drilled out resource, which gives us the confidence to push ahead.
And you've got these numbers then from, you say, that the significant work that's been done in the past, extensively explored since 1936 with historic drilling. You talk about the Witwatersrand Basin, historically one of the richest gold producing regions in the world, having produced over 2 billion ounces of gold over more than a century. So this is information you've got from previous drilling. I mean, how were you able to pick it up? Why is no one else interested?
I think, look, there's the perception of South Africa as being a high-risk jurisdiction. Certainly from our perspective, it's still a first world mining jurisdiction, rule of law, resources, and so on. But it just demonstrates that there are a tremendous amount of resources in South Africa which are stranded, capital starved or really have been left by the majors as the majors go in search of bigger projects and so on. This for us is a very significant project. It's been explored. It's been drilled out by major companies, but those major companies are looking for significant projects well above this. But they're also, again, there hasn't been the focus in South Africa, I would say, on uranium. And that was the whole point of NEO. List a company focused in South Africa that very quickly could consolidate and build itself into one of Africa's largest uranium companies. And this is, I guess, the first step since we listed back in November, are basically starting to deliver on that. So there are these resources, and there's more. There's more. So which we hope to announce very soon. So no, we've been on the ground, we've walked it, we've seen it, and we're a very aggressive junior company looking to grow a business.
Okay, and this is sort of continuing with the whole sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but the QGC, the Jason Brewer sort of model of, being... I'm just remembering the interview I did with Quintin back, well, it was around the NEO IPO, actually. It was actually that day. And he talked about sort of being very nimble, being able to move a bit quicker than the majors and having sort of satellite deposits. Is this sort of continuing, again, on that sort of theme?
Yeah, very much. It's seeing an opportunity and actually seizing it. You see an opportunity, your due diligence confirms your initial kind of view, and that's what's happened. I mean, we've gone through the resource database, we've gone through the competent persons reports, we've moved very quickly, we're agile. The decision making process is very fluid and very efficient here. I was with Quintin just last week in South Africa. We went through everything, and hopefully you're going to be speaking to Quintin in the coming days too on this. We are fortunate to have a very well-aligned board and an alignment with our major shareholder as well, which will support us in these transactions. So it allows us to move forward with confidence.
Well, yes, indeed. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Quintin. I've not interviewed him since that back in November. And I know a lot's been going on in the background with the unlocking of the QGC funds there, which I believe is, very soon now, very soon. And if Quintin's coming out, then yes, we can hopefully get some regular chats with Quintin on what's going and start to see things motoring. But I mean, you've said there about completing the due diligence based on these. This is all inferred resource, and you're going to complete that by the end of August, and then complete the transaction, all being well, by the end of September. So that's obviously admin based that's going to be going on and due diligence. What happens after that? Are you going to go down? You've got prospecting licenses. You're going to get on the ground and do further drilling to move it up the category from inferred to indicated. What's the sort of work program? Yeah,
look, the Basin North project, which is the one that's got the bulk of the resource here, it's got 57.2 million pounds of the uranium resources and about 2 million ounces of the gold resources. That's the one which already, based upon earlier scoping studies that have been completed, can be a standalone project. So that's one where we're very much focused on, okay, how do we develop the infrastructure? How do we access adjoining infrastructure which will allow us to move that forward? The Basin South project to the south, you've got a very significant resource there, don't get me wrong, 32 million pounds of uranium resources, about 600,000 ounces of gold there in the base of reef. But what we need to do there is more infill drilling, and we're expecting that through that infill drilling, we will not only just increase the confidence level in that resource, but we will also increase the size of that resource. So that's work which we're going to be commencing. But I guess ahead of that, there is other acquisitions in the region that we will hopefully be able to finalize and announce over the course of this month. And that will unlock both of these projects in a very significant way. So that will provide us with a way of accelerating the development of these very, very quickly. So that is something we're working on. It's actually, Mark, it's quite a strange thing. This should have been the second announcement that we put out, if that makes sense. But just the way things happen, we're doing this one first. So the plan is to move these forward very, very quickly. Basin North, a lot of confidence in what's been done there and the historical work, not just on the resource and the geology, but actually on the numbers for actual standalone operation. Whereas Basin South, there is additional work to increase the confidence in that project, and also in the size of the resource. Basin North as well is probably the shallowest area in that whole basin where this Basin Reef exists. Okay, so it's probably the easiest one out of these two projects to actually get in and develop and operate.
Okay, so more to come then, really, further acquisition news to come that will sort of dovetail into the existing ones. I mean, you mentioned about infrastructure in the area. Of course, you're quite near other producers, aren't you? Harmony Gold, for example, and Sibayan Stillwater Limited. Tell us a bit about what's going on in the local area.
Yeah, look, this local area was one of the biggest gold producing regions. This complex where you've got the Beatrix mines. Beatrix mines used to be operated by Goldfields, and then Sibanye picked up a number of them. So there is a large history of multi-million ounce gold mining operations that have been there since the 1980s. So you're talking about mining operations which have been operating for 40 or 50 years. You know, some of these operations, some of these mines had up to 3,000 people working on them at any one time. So you've got such significant infrastructure. Harmony Gold, one of the world's largest gold producers, based here, and you can see on some of the images, some of the maps we put out, immediately north of Basin North. Sibanye, that operate the Beatrix gold operations there, immediately to the east of these licensed areas. So you're in a region where there is a very skilled workforce, tremendous mining infrastructure, and communities that are actually so intrinsically involved in gold mining and uranium mining that our ability to take this forward in an area where there have been mine closures in recent years, we're almost going back in there, we're reinvigorating an area, we're investing in assets which, you know, the majors have stepped back from, and it gives us an opportunity to really push ahead quite quickly with the support not just of the communities but of the governments as well.
Okay, good. So we have to wait just a little bit longer to see what other things you're going to reveal and how they fit into the bigger picture. But I would assume, though, if you complete the transaction by the end of September, as we're going back into people going back to work, Parliament gets back into action, everyone goes back to the desktops. A pretty active Q4, would you say, Jason, in terms of sort of, you know, developing these projects? Are you looking to get into studies, or are you really looking on the North project just to really sort of start using that local infrastructure and again to small scale mining?
Yeah, look, there's feasibility studies that we will obtain on adjoining projects that can be extended into Basin North very quickly. So we will be finalising studies, development plans, development timetables for us to move forward over Q4, over 2025 to be a uranium producer. And with some very nice gold credits thrown in there too. So we are very confident in the assets we've got now. We're very confident with the portfolio, how it's going to expand over the course of this month. And that really positions us as we go into that final quarter, as you say, when some people come back to work, Mark, we haven't stopped working here. So, you know, I know you're on holiday in the UK, but, you know, we don't have holidays here. So, no, when people come back to work, I think they're going to get a bit of a surprise as to how Neo has transformed over the space of a few weeks, a few months. So, yeah, some exciting times in Q4. There's no question about it.
Excellent. Good stuff. And just a final question that's come into my mind, just thinking about the gold, you mentioned it again there. I mean, you're able to, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but are you able to process at the same time? I mean, what's the sort of difference here with getting gold and uranium out of a uranium project? Yeah,
you'll have two separate circuits, but you recover the gold and the uranium through the processing plants there. So the initial processing, so both will be recovered. Both will be recovered. So we will be producing from the combined areas there. Yes, you'll be producing, and again, arbitrary numbers, please don't hold me on these. You know, you'll be producing 2 to 3 million pounds a year of uranium, and you'll be producing up to 100,000 ounces a year of gold. You know, so when you start to look at the sort of revenue streams, the cash flows generating from that should give people an idea of what this initial transaction provides for us.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jason. Looking forward to seeing some more news from the company and seeing how you take this forward. But for now, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.